The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, I guess I'm on mute, but I'm fine now, right? It is what it is. I'm back. That's what happens on these Saturday episodes of Locked On Canucks, okay? Sorry to the live listeners on YouTube. Luckily, it's not about how you start. It's about how you finish, okay? For real. Speaking of the finish, the Canucks are getting to June, and Lindholm is going to be a huge part of that. Welcome to Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen. And man, we're doing this at the Don't Doze Art Lab, okay? And once again, apologies for the technical difficulties off the top. Speaking of which, is it the end of the technical difficulties era of Lindholm's game with the Vancouver Canucks, right? Because his game, for game after game after game after game after game, has been brutal. Speaking of brutal, that's how we describe this injury that he was going through, right? That same injury kept him in the lineup against the Canadiens and the Flames. But afterwards, against tougher teams, he wasn't there. A bit of a confusing process all in all. But again, this technical difficulty for him seems to be over with, and we're going to get Lindholm before the playoffs. And I think that's the update the Canucks and their fan base wanted. This all being said, Tocchet did allude in this article. We'll put the article in the bio below. Shout out to Ian McIntyre, right? Always been doing it. He spoke with Lindholm again. Link in bio. Read the whole full piece. Tocchet said that he isn't worried about Lindholm, needing a runway before the playoffs because of the fact that this dude, this highly skilled dude, has played 800 games in the NHL, right? Like, he's been here. He can jump back in to a lineup, and maybe it looks a whole lot different this time around because he's actually healthy. And what's ironic about him being healthy is that he seems very hungry. Think about it, right? UFA. Think about it. Elias Lindholm. He's done it before. A Selke nominee way back when. Was he a nominee or well, he was a nominee, but was he a finalist too? He just been one of those guys, right? A top-end guy. He doesn't want to be known as a broken asset, a dude who has plateaued or is on the decline. He still wants to be Elias Lindholm. He's a hungry player that wants to get paid. And there's a lot of players on the Vancouver Canucks that want to get paid, right? That hunger. It's something I think the Canucks are going to benefit from. All these guys, right? Needing new deals, playing in the playoffs. In other words, the best of the best from a lot of these guys. It's on the horizon. And if that's the case for Lindholm, the Canucks become, once again, very scary. And I think for quite some time, right? Game after game after game, week after week after week, the Canucks have been a little boring. They look less deadly, right? They look kind of just there. All in all, they don't look like contenders. Yet here I am, totally believing that the fact that a Lindholm emergence can, take them over the top. Take this defensively sound, team over the top. This team with Thatcher Demko over the top. Speaking of Elias, how about Elias? And Canucks fans, if you're with me right now, just close your eyes. Think about it. The Canucks have gone this far, and they haven't really seen the best of both those guys together on this year's version of your Vancouver Canucks. What if that happens? What if it happens, fairly soon? What if Elias wakes up tonight? And what if in a couple games, Lindholm was back in the lineup and he just seems completely different? Those two things are quite possibly very true. That's what makes this Canucks team so intriguing. In other words, go Canucks, go. Lindholm also said, "Do I want to spoil this whole article? Is that fair to Ian McIntyre? Is that illegal? Like, if I just spill all the beans, is McIntyre going to show up at my door with the baseball bat and boiling water?" Link in the bio below, okay? I think I've said what I've had to say, okay? Brutal injury. This dude's hungry. He wants to win a Stanley Cup. Whatever happened in the past was in the past, okay? And he's ready to be a really good player again. And I'm going to believe him, okay? Because I spent a lot of time ragging on this dude over the last couple of weeks. Unsatisfied, bored. All while this guy was playing with an injury, with no deals left on his contract, risking a lot for a team that he's barely even known. All in all, I got to apologize to the dude and forgive the dude, quote unquote. And that's going to set me free, man, for real. It's going to make me a better person. I believe in Elias Lindholm, and I believe he has a lot more to give. And what he gives is ultimately going to take the Vancouver Canucks, your Vancouver Canucks, over the top. Hey, speaking of your Vancouver Canucks, they play the LA Kings tonight. People in the comments talking about, the 1-3-1 hype. Look at Mark asking if the fans are ready for a boring game. I brought up the guy before or after Lindholm, right? Patterson. Does Patterson single-handedly, is that how I say it, make this game non-boring? Because so many Canuck fans out here are just waiting for that explosion. Could it happen tonight? It sounds kind of impossible, right? Because you're facing the LA Kings. And I think it was Bruff who made a great point on this, right? Because here are the LA Kings, and these guys are boring. The most boring team in hockey. Look, the Vancouver Canucks over the last couple of weeks could kind of take that title as well. And who do they play in those couple of weeks, a couple of times? The LA Kings, okay? Are the LA Kings boring? Or is it a combination of us watching a lot of Kings Canucks games, and both those teams have been boring, all in all? Can Patterson, again, do the impossible and break this drought that he's on against the LA Kings? Shout out to Elias Patterson. Somebody's asking me about the lineup tonight. Bro, can somebody go and do this themselves? Like, I don't have the lineup in front of me. Who's coming in? Is Pius Suter sitting out another game? I don't think so. I don't think they're facing the LA Kings with Mark Friedman getting some reps, right? Mark asking if Big Zadorov is playing. You best believe it, okay? Last week, he already got his rest. Yeah, he low-key kind of struggled, if you can say that. I don't know if that's fair to say, to be honest, against the Las Vegas Golden Knights, where he played like 3 seconds and got kicked out in the first period. Yeah, I think the Vancouver Canucks do need to get Noah Juleson in the lineup, blah, 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 but I don't think it comes at the expense of Nikita Zadorov. I think he's really important here, man. He really is. And look at Mark. Zadorov makes games interesting on his own. Dude, you think Rick Tocchet is going to take Big Z out of the lineup after he kind of called out the LA Kings? He ain't going to do that, man. That's not hockey. That's not hockey. Mr. Whale saying that PDG is probably in. I can see, I'll hop on Twitter for the people, and do some talking, right? And see what's going on. Look at Dingbat. Okay, Dingbat Dingers. I like Friedman. He brings the fire to the back end. I think the team likes Friedman too. I don't, do they like him more as a personality rather than an everydayer? Maybe. Maybe. Look at this comment from Matt. Okay, yo, Kyle. I want to hear LA boo their crowd because of their boring games, like they did the last time the Canucks made them look timid in their own barn. Damn, it was hard for me to read that comment. The Kings, man, I think the Kings fans don't mind what gets them dubs, okay? Because at the end of the day, it's about getting dubs, especially that team, right? I feel as if that's a stressful environment. A lot of moving parts over the last 2 years, a lot of big moves, a lot of spending. Winning really, really matters there. A lot of money being spent, right? Talk about Dubois. How about the money being spent on Todd McLennan? Is that how you say his name? The ex-coach who, prior to getting fired, was the richest coach in the NHL, right? Is that what the facts say? Speaking of the facts, look at Mr. Whale, okay? Lindholm should have been on the LTIR, so we could have pulled a Vegas. Maybe, right? Because that injury was quote unquote brutal, whatever that means. Confusing, man. Brutal. Brutal enough to keep him out of the lineup, but not before he was needed in must-win games against the Canadiens and the Calgary Flames. How brutal was this? I wonder when he mentioned the word brutal in this interview, if it was more just a psyche thing, right? A mental thing rather than the injury itself. Like, again, we're talking about Lindholm, new team, needs a contract, a lot of pressure. He, feels the pressure all season long of not having the deal, uncomfortable situation. And then he gets to Vancouver and it's been mediocre, right? At best, literally. He has 1 goal in 15 games, blah, blah, blah. And now he's got to sit out. And maybe that part of this story of his this year was brutal. And again, way more brutal than the actual injury itself. Now look at Oliver, man. It's all about the money, man. Really? I don't think so, man. It's all about being a Vancouver Canucks fan, okay? For real. Now look at this, man. People, the conspiracy theories, okay? Calgary sent us damaged goods. I wonder if the news got out there and blah blah blah. They got to get him out. Blah blah blah. Yo, okay. I don't know if that's factual, man. We're talking about the NHL, which is questionable. But let's be real. We're talking about Rutherford and Alvin. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you think they're gonna let that slide? You think that's actually a possibility? I don't think so. You want to play the conspiracy game? Maybe it was like Lindholm, maybe hiding something the whole season. But I don't think it's a situation where the Flames are like, aware of it and wanted to do some mafia stuff. Come on. Come on. Look at Oliver, man. Elias Patterson, what a joke. Oliver, you're a joke. Okay? How about this comment? Aaron. And what did I miss? What's the deal with Lindholm? Okay, there's a link in the bio below. Ian McIntyre spoke with him. By the sounds of it, A, this injury was brutal to deal with, right? But B, he's willing to do whatever it takes to win a Stanley Cup. He's hit the ice, and the energy is telling us that he's going to play before the playoffs start. Look at GV, okay? Hard to be an all-star hiding an injury all year. True. True. And look at Oliver with this response, man. I'm not a joke. Dude, you're watching a Canucks podcast, right? I'm assuming you're a Canucks fan too because you look really passionate and you want to call Patterson a joke, put that energy out in the air right before the games matter, I get it. You can be emotional, but you still got to be on his team. Like more than ever. And I think it's easy to look at the truth, right? And the obvious. We've watched so many hockey games in this thing called our lives. We've seen Patterson play a lot of great hockey games. We know that there is a big, big step from what level he is on now to where he could play. And if he makes that step, the Canucks, again, are a team that's going after the cup, and rightfully so. And that's a beautiful feeling because, again, Patterson getting to this next level is not out of the realm. Really, really possible. Elias Patterson, man, let's prove some of those people wrong, right? And, bro, come on, man. Who cares about the regular season? Who cares what he does in the regular season, man? Look at Mr. Whale, okay? Patterson's going through something right now. He's still a good player. He's still a very, very, very good player. You know, we said this 14 minutes ago, right? After I was muted. Close your eyes, Canucks fans. It's because this version of these players on this roster have not been, have not been showcasing us a hockey team that has both Elias and Elias playing at their best. And that's still a possibility. Mix that in with what JT Miller is doing all season long and Quinn Hughes seeming to, take his game to another level right before the playoffs and Thatcher Demko returning. Come on. Come on. There is another level that we haven't seen yet, and there's like a 5% chance we see that in the playoffs. And if that happens, they're winning rounds. They're taking it to game 7. They're in playoff series round after round after round, and next thing you know, we're in June. We're in June, man. Oh, look at this comment from Boom Scoom, okay? Is Hronek walking, man? I think there was another article with, I don't know if it was McIntyre or Rutherford, or I don't know, somebody spoke to Rutherford and they touched on the Hronek situation. He can't walk, right? He's an RFA. He's going to be an expensive RFA. And, we've talked about this so much over the last couple weeks. You can view prior episodes or just peep any Canucks podcast that's, again, been touching on the situation. And I think it's just, at this point, not like a waste of time, but it's not the most important thing. I think if we're going to be talking about Hronek and having questions about his future with the Canucks, let's just worry about the immediate future. Like, how much better can he get? How much of an impact player in the playoffs can he be? How much can he handle? And now we're talking about a guy that doesn't have a contract. Does that mean he's going to do whatever it takes to prove that he can be all those guys? And if that's the truth, again, there's another layer to the Vancouver Canucks. Another hungry player, right? Lindholm, hungry for a new deal. Philip Hronek, hungry for a new deal. What if that unlocks a new level of desperation for those guys to play with and ultimately brings their game to an all-time level? That is very good news for the Vancouver Canucks. We're assuming the best, bro. I just did some reading before a little bit of a nap here at the Don't Doze Art Lab, right? Bro, I'm reading the Power of the Subconscious Mind. Beautiful book. I'm in a positive place, and dude, if all goes well, if everything goes our way, we're gonna make the playoffs. No, if everything goes well, looking at, again, that roster and those players, the Vancouver Canucks are cup contenders. Let's get to June, man. Look at Oliver, man. Hronek makes me laugh. Right? Guy's a polarizing player. You know what? Again, you look at the tape, you look at the film, you look at the scrums, you look at the intensity, you look at his eyes, man. He's always in the battle. He's an angry dude. Gonna be an exciting guy to watch in the playoffs. Anyways, enjoy the game tonight. That's all I got. Again, apologize for the technical difficulties at the start of the episode, okay? Well, was on mute. In other words, I really had nothing to say. And that's what the universe is telling me, okay? Anyways, hit the like button, subscribe. Your Canucks every day, delivered here. Let's put the positive Deepak Chopra-like vibes for Lindholm, man. Let's forget about the first half of the Elias Lindholm experience. Let's beat the LA Kings. Let's beat them 4-1. 4-1. Elias Patterson, 3 points. Why not? One love to the Locked On Podcast Network. One love to the Don't Does Art Lab. My name's Kyle Bowen. Have a good morning, a good afternoon, a good night. Enjoy the game. And, yeah, man. Look after your neighbors, man. Shout out to the West Coast Bias. Peace.
Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast